The manila envelope sat on the kitchen island like a time bomb. Eliza Morgan stared at it, her fingers trembling as she reached for the innocuous package that had arrived by courier an hour ago. No return address, just her name in typed letters on the front. She'd known what it contained before she'd even opened it, had paid good money to ensure its contents would be thorough. Inside were photographs. Dozens of them. Her husband, Reed, entering a modern high-rise apartment building in Westwood. Timestamps spanning months. Reed carrying groceries. Reed with his arm around a woman whose face was partially obscured. Reed punching in a door code. And then, the final photograph. A lease agreement for apartment 803 at the Avery. His signature at the bottom. Clear as day. The strangest part wasn't the betrayal, it was how calm she felt. Like she'd known all along. Eliza slipped the photographs back into the envelope, picked up her phone, and dialed. "It's me," she said when the call connected. "You were right. I need the key. Today." 3 years earlier, Eliza had been the picture of success. At 34, she was the youngest partner at her architecture firm, known for her innovative, sustainable designs and unwavering attention to detail. Her colleagues described her as brilliant, demanding, and occasionally difficult, but always fair. When she met Reed Morgan at a charity gala, she wasn't looking for love. She'd been too busy building her career to focus on relationships. But Reed, a charismatic neurosurgeon with an easy laugh and thoughtful eyes, had broken through her carefully constructed walls. "You know what I love about you?" he'd asked on their third date, tracing the rim of his wine glass. "You're not trying to impress anyone." "It's refreshing," Eliza had laughed. "I've spent my whole life trying to impress people. Maybe I'm just tired. Or maybe you're finally comfortable being exactly who you are." Their courtship had been a whirlwind. Within 8 months, they were married in an intimate ceremony on the California coast. Eliza had never felt so certain about anything in her life. Now, as she drove her Audi through midday traffic, that certainty felt like a cruel joke. The private investigator's words echoed in her mind. "He's been visiting this apartment at least twice a week for the past 3 months. Always stays for several hours. Sometimes overnight." Eliza had hired Martin Diaz after finding a receipt for an expensive piece of jewelry she'd never received. She'd told herself it was paranoia, that there must be a rational explanation. But deep down, she'd known. Her phone rang through the car speakers. Reed. She took a deep breath and answered with practiced normalcy. "Hey, hi honey. Just checking in." His voice was warm, familiar. "I've got back-to-back surgeries today, so I might be late. Don't wait up, okay?" "Actually," Eliza said, her voice steady despite the thundering in her chest. "I have that client dinner tonight, remember? For the Lakewood project." The lie came easily. "There was no dinner, no client." "Right, of course," Reed said. "That's tonight. Sorry, I've been swamped. Good luck with the presentation." "Thanks," she replied, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. "I'll see you tomorrow then." After they hung up, Eliza pulled into a parking garage downtown and sat in silence for several minutes, staring at nothing. Then she opened her glove compartment and removed a small device, a tracking app connected to Reed's phone. She'd installed it months ago but had never activated it, feeling it crossed a line she wasn't willing to cross, until now. She pressed the button and a map appeared on her screen. Reed's location, UCLA Medical Center. At least he hadn't lied about that. An hour later, she stood in the lobby of the Avery, a sleek, modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows and a doorman in a crisp uniform. The kind of place that required a special key fob for the elevator. "I'm here to see Melissa Chen," she told the doorman, using the name of Reed's alleged mistress, information that had cost her an extra $1,000. "Ms. Chen isn't registered with the front desk today," the doorman replied. Eliza feigned confusion. "That's strange. I'm supposed to drop off these contracts." She held up her briefcase. "I work with her at Westridge Partners. Maybe she forgot to register me?" The doorman hesitated, then smiled. "No problem. I know Ms. Chen, 8th floor, right?" Eliza nodded, heart racing. "Go ahead up. I'll give her a call to let her know you're on your way." Actually, Eliza said quickly. "I'd like to surprise her." "We're celebrating a big account today." The doorman's smile widened. "Say no more. Elevators to your right." As Eliza rode up to the 8th floor, she thought about how easily she'd lied, how natural it felt to become someone else. Perhaps Reed wasn't the only one living a double life. When the elevator doors opened, she faced a hallway with modern sconces lighting the way to 6 apartment doors. Apartment 803 was at the far end. She approached slowly, her footsteps muffled by the plush carpet. When she reached the door, she removed a key from her pocket, courtesy of Martin Diaz, who apparently had contacts in the building management. It slid into the lock with an ominous click. Eliza took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The apartment was bathed in late afternoon sunlight, streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a spectacular view of the city. Minimalist furniture, tasteful artwork, a kitchen island with expensive cookware hanging above it. But what struck Eliza wasn't the luxury. It was how lived-in the place felt. Fresh flowers on the coffee table, a half-empty bottle of wine on the counter, books stacked on side tables. This wasn't just some secret rendezvous spot. Someone lived here. Eliza moved through the space like a ghost, cataloging each painful detail. The throw blanket casually draped over the couch. The collection of vinyl records. Reed had always loved vinyl. A framed photograph on a bookshelf caught her eye. Reed with his arm around a woman with copper hair, both of them laughing against a backdrop of mountains. Melissa Chen, presumably. She was beautiful in an effortless way. Young, perhaps early 30s. Her smile reached her eyes. Eliza set the photograph down, suddenly feeling like an intruder. Which was absurd. She was the wife, not the mistress. The bedroom door was partially open. She pushed it wider, revealing a king-sized bed with rumpled sheets. On the nightstand, a prescription bottle with Reed's name on it, a woman's earrings, a dog-eared paperback. In the bathroom, she found 2 toothbrushes. His and hers towels, her favorite brand of shampoo, the expensive kind she'd introduced Reed to early in their marriage. The closet was the final blow. Half filled with Reed's clothes, suits she recognized, casual wear she didn't. The other half contained a woman's wardrobe. Dresses, blouses, jeans. At the far end hung a garment bag. Eliza unzipped it slowly to reveal an elegant evening gown with a sales tag still attached. She checked the tag. Size 4, too small for her. On the floor beneath it sat a shoebox containing silver heels. The apartment wasn't just a place for secret meetings. It was a fully functioning second home. A parallel life. Eliza sank onto the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. Her phone buzzed with a text from Martin Diaz. Morgan left hospital. Heading your way. ETA 45 minutes. 45 minutes until Reed arrived. Possibly with her. 45 minutes to decide what to do next. Eliza had planned to confront them both, to force Reed to choose in front of his mistress, to make him feel the humiliation she felt now. But sitting in their secret sanctuary, surrounded by evidence of what appeared to be genuine affection, she felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just about sex or novelty. Reed had built a life here, a life that clearly mattered to him. She moved back to the living room and noticed a laptop on the desk. Open but screen dark. She touched the trackpad and the screen illuminated. No password required. An email account was open. Melissa Chen's inbox. Eliza knew she should stop, that she was crossing boundaries even in this boundary-obliterated situation. But her fingers moved of their own accord, scrolling through the messages. One subject line caught her eye. Anniversary plans. She clicked. The message was from Reed, sent 3 days ago. My love, just confirming our weekend getaway for our anniversary. 2 years feels like both a lifetime and the blink of an eye. The cabin is booked. The one with the view you loved in those photos. 3 days of just us, no interruptions. I can't wait. I know this isn't the life you imagined, and I know I keep asking for your patience. But I promise, after I talk to Eliza next week, everything will change. We won't have to hide anymore. I just need to do this right. She deserves that much. All my heart. Relisa read the message 3 times, each word a fresh cut. Their anniversary. 2 years. The cabin with the view. Reed and Melissa had been together for 2 years, which meant their relationship had begun barely a year into her marriage, and he was planning to leave her. Next week, she closed the email and noticed a folder labeled Fertility Clinic. With shaking hands, she opened it to find correspondence with Pacific Fertility Center. Appointment confirmations, test results, treatment options. They were trying to have a baby. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Eliza gripped the edge of the desk, fighting waves of nausea. She and Reed had discussed children, of course. He'd always said he wanted them someday, but whenever she'd brought up concrete timelines, he'd change the subject, citing his demanding career, the mortgage on their house, the need to travel while they were still young. All lies. He wanted children, just not with her. A new text from Martin. Subject and female companion in building lobby. ETA 2 minutes. 2 minutes until her entire world imploded. 2 minutes to decide. Eliza stood, a strange calm settling over her. She knew exactly what she needed to do. When the door to apartment 803 opened, Reed entered first, laughing over his shoulder at something Melissa had said. He froze when he saw Eliza sitting on the couch, legs crossed, a glass of their expensive wine in her hand. "Hello, Reed," she said quietly. The color drained from his face. "Eliza. What? How did you—" Melissa appeared behind him, copper hair gleaming in the apartment's soft lighting. She stopped abruptly, eyes darting between Reed and Eliza. "You must be Melissa," Eliza said, raising her glass in a mock toast. "I've heard absolutely nothing about you." Reed stepped forward, hands raised in a placating gesture. "Eliza, please. Let me explain." "Explain what exactly?" Eliza's voice remained eerily calm. "Your 2-year affair. The apartment you've been paying for with our joint account? Or perhaps you'd like to explain the fertility treatments." Melissa's eyes widened. "You went through my emails?" "I did," Eliza acknowledged, turning her attention to the younger woman. "I also went through your closet, your bathroom, your kitchen. You have a lovely home. Very cozy." "Eliza, this isn't how I wanted you to find out," Reed said, his doctor's composure beginning to crack. "I was going to talk to you next week. I was trying to find the right way. The right way to tell your wife of 3 years that you've been living a double life for 2 of them?" Eliza stood, setting down her wine glass with deliberate care. "Please enlighten me. What's the protocol there?" "I never meant to hurt you," he said, the platitude falling flat in the charged air of the apartment. "And yet here we are." Eliza turned to Melissa. "Did he tell you I was cold? Too focused on my career? That we'd grown apart?" Melissa swallowed hard. "He said you had separate lives. That you were more like roommates than spouses." A bitter laugh escaped Eliza's throat. "Separate lives. That's creative. Tell me, when exactly did our lives become separate? Was it before or after our anniversary trip to Kyoto last month? Or perhaps during the dinner with my parents last Sunday, when you held my hand under the table and told my father how lucky you were to have found me?" Reed looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "The saddest part," Eliza continued, "is that I actually believed you. Every I love you, every promise, every plan for our future. I defended you to my friends when you missed events. I rearranged my schedule to accommodate your surgeries. I turned down a project in Singapore because you said long distance would be too hard on our marriage." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Meanwhile, you were building this— what would you call it? A second chance? An upgrade?" "It wasn't like that," Melissa interjected, her voice quiet but firm. "It wasn't some sordid affair. We fell in love. It was complicated and messy and wrong, but it was real." "Real," Eliza repeated. "Like the fertility treatments? Are you pregnant, Melissa?" The younger woman hesitated, then lifted her chin. 8 weeks. The confirmation struck Eliza like a physical blow. She took a step back, steadying herself against the couch. "Eliza, I'm so sorry," Reed said, moving toward her. She held up a hand to stop him. "Don't, just—" "Don't. What do you want me to say?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. That I'm a terrible person? Fine, I am. That I betrayed you? I did. But it wasn't about you. Stop! Eliza cut him off. If you say it wasn't about you, it was about me. I might actually scream. Of course it was about me. My inadequacies. My failings as a wife. My apparent inability to give you what you needed. That's not true, Reed insisted. You're an incredible woman, Eliza. Brilliant, successful, beautiful. Any man would be lucky. Then why? She demanded, her composure finally cracking. Why wasn't I enough? The question hung in the air between them, raw and unanswerable. Reed's shoulders sagged. I don't know, he admitted. I wish I did. I wish I could give you a reason that would make this hurt less. But I don't have one. I made choices. Terrible, selfish choices. And now we're all paying for them. Eliza looked at him, really looked at him, and realized she was seeing the real Reed Morgan for the first time. Not the charming, confident surgeon she'd fallen in love with, but a flawed, morally compromised man who had been living a lie. Did you ever love me? She asked softly. Or was I just convenient? The successful wife who looked good on paper, who helped advance your career. Reed's eyes filled with tears. I did love you, Eliza. Part of me still does. Just not in the way you deserve to be loved. Melissa stood awkwardly to the side, one hand resting protectively on her still flat stomach. The gesture wasn't lost on Eliza. Congratulations, she said, gesturing toward Melissa's midsection. I hope your child never learns how their parents met. That's enough, Reed said sharply. Be angry with me, I deserve it. But Melissa doesn't. Eliza raised an eyebrow. Doesn't she? She knew you were married. She chose to be with you anyway. She chose to create a life with someone who had already committed his life to someone else. That makes her complicit, Reed, not a victim. I never claimed to be a victim, Melissa said quietly. I made choices too, selfish ones. But I'm not going to apologize for loving him or for this baby. Eliza nodded slowly. Fair enough. At least you're honest about your selfishness. She moved toward the door, then stopped and turned back to face them both. I came here today planning to make a scene, to scream and cry and maybe break things. She gestured around the apartment. But now that I'm here, I realize you're not worth the energy. Reed flinched at her words. I've filed for divorce, she continued, pulling an envelope from her purse and placing it on the coffee table. My lawyer will be in touch. I've documented the financial transactions for this apartment, so don't bother hiding assets. I'm not interested in a drawn-out legal battle. I just want this to be over. Eliza, Reed began, but she cut him off with a raised hand. I don't want to hear it, Reed. No explanations, no justifications, no apologies. They're all meaningless now. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a set of keys. Their house keys. She removed her key to their home and handed the rest to Reed. I've packed your essential items. They're in boxes in the garage. Send someone to get them. I don't want to see you again. As she turned to leave, Reed called after her, his voice breaking. What about the house? Our life together? Eliza paused at the door, her hand on the knob. You forfeited any claim to our life together the moment you started building this one. And then, unable to resist one final twist of the knife. By the way, the fertility issues? They were yours, not mine. I got tested 6 months ago after we'd been trying with no success. But I kept it to myself because I didn't want to hurt your pride. She saw the shock register on both their faces. Good luck with the baby, she said. I hope the treatments work better this time around. With that, she walked out, closing the door quietly behind her. In the hallway, she took a deep, steadying breath. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed a number. Martin? It's done. I need one more favor. 6 months later, Eliza stood in the middle of her new loft, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes and the scent of fresh paint. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of San Francisco Bay, the Golden Gate Bridge visible in the distance. Starting over at 38 wasn't what she'd planned, but then again, nothing about the past year had been part of her plan. Her phone rang, her mother calling for their daily check-in. How's the unpacking going? Her mother asked after Eliza answered. Slowly, Eliza admitted. But I kind of like being surrounded by boxes. It's a physical reminder that I'm in transition. You always did have a strange way of finding comfort in chaos, her mother said with a chuckle. Have you heard anything from him? Eliza knew who him referred to. Not directly. His lawyer contacted mine about selling the house. Apparently, they're looking for something bigger now that the baby's coming. And how do you feel about that? It was the question everyone asked, delivered with varying degrees of caution and concern. How do you feel? As if her emotions could be neatly categorized and explained. I feel... Eliza paused, searching for the right words. I feel like I'm standing on the shore watching a ship I was once on sailing away. I can still see it, but I'm no longer on it, and that's okay. That's very poetic, darling, but it doesn't actually tell me how you're doing. Eliza smiled despite herself. I'm doing better than yesterday, which was better than the day before. Isn't that how healing works? I suppose it is, her mother conceded. I just worry. I know you do. But I'm okay, Mom. Really. After they hung up, Eliza returned to unpacking, sorting through books and deciding which deserved prime shelf space in her new home. The doorbell rang, an unusual occurrence, since she'd given her new address to very few people. She opened the door to find a courier holding a large envelope. Eliza Morgan? He asked. Yes, that's me. He handed her the envelope and a digital pad to sign. Have a nice day, ma'am. Eliza closed the door and examined the envelope. No return address, but the handwriting on the front looked familiar. She opened it cautiously. Inside was a check for $1.5 million and a handwritten note. Eliza, this is your half of the house sale. I know you said you didn't want anything from me, but this is rightfully yours. The house sold for more than we expected. I also want you to know that I've been seeing someone, a therapist, not another woman. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did, why I hurt you so deeply. Not to excuse it, but to ensure I never cause that kind of pain again. Melissa lost the baby at 16 weeks. The doctors say it was just one of those things that happens, but I can't help wondering if it's some cosmic retribution for my choices. We're both struggling with the loss. I don't expect your forgiveness, nor do I deserve it. But I wanted you to know that the person you thought you married, the better version of me, is who I'm trying to become now. Too late for us, but perhaps not too late for me. I hope San Francisco brings you everything you deserve. Reedy P.S. Your investigator, Martin Diaz, is terrifyingly thorough. How did he get my therapy records? Eliza set the note down, unsure how to feel. The news about the baby stirred a complicated mix of emotions. A twist of vindication, quickly followed by guilt for feeling that way. Then genuine sadness for the loss of an innocent life. Her phone buzzed with a text. It was from Carmen, her new colleague at the San Francisco firm where she'd taken a position as design director. Drinks tonight to celebrate your first week? The team wants to welcome you properly. Eliza smiled and typed back, Absolutely. Just tell me where and when. As she set down her phone, her gaze fell on a framed photograph she'd just unpacked, her standing in front of the Lakewood project, her first major solo design after making partner at her previous firm. She remembered how proud she'd felt that day, how complete within herself. She'd find that feeling again. Different, perhaps, changed by what she'd been through, but genuine nonetheless. The check for $1.5 million lay on her kitchen counter. Tomorrow, she'd deposit most of it, keeping her financial security intact. But tonight, she'd take a small portion and use it to buy a round of drinks for her new colleagues, people who knew her only as Eliza Morgan. Brilliant architect, new to San Francisco, full of potential and possibility. She picked up the note from Reed again, reading the last line. P.S. Your investigator, Martin Diaz, is terrifyingly thorough. How did he get my therapy records? Eliza smiled to herself. Martin hadn't gotten Reed's therapy records. She'd bluffed about the fertility testing, using her knowledge of Reed's insecurities as a physician to wound him where it would hurt most. A petty revenge, perhaps, but one that had evidently hit its mark. She crumpled the note and tossed it into the recycling bin. Then she picked up her phone and called Martin. I got a note from Reed, she said when he answered. He seems concerned about how thorough your investigation was, Martin chuckled. Did you tell him the truth? About which part? About how you found the apartment. Eliza glanced at the framed photograph again, the one detail she'd omitted from her confrontation with Reed. In the background, partially obscured but visible to someone looking closely, was Melissa Chen attending the building's opening as a representative of the property management company that had hired Eliza's firm to design the public spaces, the same company that had readily provided Martin with a key when Eliza explained the situation. No, she replied. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. After hanging up, Eliza walked to her new balcony and looked out at the city stretching before her, unfamiliar territory, full of unknown possibilities. She'd come to San Francisco not to run away from her past, but to step deliberately into her future. A future she was designing for herself, with the same careful attention to detail she brought to her architectural projects. The sun was setting over the bay, painting the water in shades of gold and crimson. In the distance, lights began to flicker on across the city, creating a constellation of human existence, each light representing a story, a life in progress. Eliza took a deep breath of the salt-tinged air. Tonight she would go out with new friends and toast to new beginnings. Tomorrow she would continue unpacking, both literally and figuratively. And the day after that? Well, that was still a blueprint waiting to be drawn. But for the first time in months, she was looking forward to seeing what emerged from the blank page of her life.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.